Hello and welcome. I'm very glad that this opportunity is here to share, to listen, and to practice together. I'm sure that many of you have heard about the recent developments between Iran and Israel, and now the U.S.'s involvement. On this channel, in these sharings, there's often a real emphasis on levity, meaning not to take things too seriously, not to take our structures of conceptual thought too seriously. But when it comes to real life, the Dhamma, the practice, the way of meditation, the path to getting the real insight into no self so that we can start to see clearly is not a sport. It's not an exercise. It's much more so a matter of life and death. And it's very easy to disregard the realities of being a human being here on earth. When we don't find ourselves to be sick, old, to be going through major difficulties, when we get to see the face of the wonderful, pure child, it's quite lovely, it's quite a happy moment. And in truth, we have so much to learn from
Where are you from?
America.
America.
Yeah. So this child doesn't have a self-identity, and the reason for this war, for this violence, for this conflict fundamentally comes down to our greediness. We want things. We want to be right. We want to be an authority over what's happening in our experience, in our bodies, in our minds, in the environment. And that's not the way that life works. It's not natural to be controlling everything. It's exhausting, it's tiring. So, what can we do to deal with the war in Iran and Israel, the genocide? We can start to take much, much more seriously, just as seriously as we will take, that we should take the reality of the child without identity, natural and free and wonderful and lovely, as the starving child in Gaza, as the child in Israel that was torn apart by a bomb from Iran, the child in Iran that was killed by the bomb from America. So the news and this awareness of what's going on in the world, which can be so intense, serious, confusing, and can really provoke our anxiety and our involvement with conceptual thought, is to start to face this direct experience of life that is fundamentally not about the identity, the person that we think that we are, the person that we think other people are, the state that we think Israel is, the state that we think Iran is, the state that we think America is, but to start to look at what is happening already, to start to examine the current state of affairs within our own body and mind. Now, if we're very curious about our own bodies and minds, then we can start looking and exploring. But unless we have, let's say, a tool, a meditation method, a way of approaching deeply, approaching closely what is already here, we are likened to get quite confused. And we're likened to waste a lot of energy unnecessarily in examining ourselves or examining this conglomeration of elements. So what does it mean to look for you? What does it mean to look at the body that already is here? Certainly the body that is already here, your body, I'm sure you'd call it, is not a thought. Your body is not an idea. So look at that non-idea. Look at the thoughtless experience of the body. And understand, if you will, if you may, if you can, that this body is standing on the razor's edge of life and death. This body in this world is standing on the precipice of nuclear war. So what side are you going to be on? What side are you going to take? What degree of responsibility are you willing to take for this path of getting out of suffering? And we do that through the way we live our lives. We do that through our meditation practice. We do that through self-sacrifice. We do that through seeing this truth. The truth of the baby in the box. Where was the baby shipped from? Where is the baby headed to? Hi. Can we start to look at the experience of our own body? Can we start to look at the experience of our own mind as being needing care for, needing attention of, as a baby in a box. You may have many thoughts about the war in Iran. You may have many thoughts about Christianity. You may have many thoughts about what is being seen, what is being heard, what is being felt in the body. That's very normal. But until we can become a scientist, until we can become someone who is willing to look very, very closely at the direct experience of the body here and now, very, very closely at the direct experience of the mind here and now, we are hopeless and helpless. We are hopeless and helpless to take care of the baby that is inside of ourselves. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. We might think that it's enough to throw our money around, to give some money. But the baby within us needs more than money. It needs more than pleasurable experiences. It needs more than a new car. It needs more than a new way to distract ourselves from what's actually going on within. Chúc mừng năm mới. So are we willing to give that more? Oh, very nice. Very good. Ah, wow, very nice.
Không, cháu chị, cháu nội. Ông này là ai? Người mà với con dịch thiều của thiền sư.
Không dịch cho thiền sư. Thiền sư kim chị.
Đúng rồi.
Nhưng mà do you speak Vietnamese?
I do not speak Vietnamese.
So how you can translate for against Master Kim Chi?
No, I Kepia for to receive the money, the donation, and
Người Mỹ là hay nít với chó. Quý nít với chó.
Bây giờ không có trong đó ngoài này.
Hả?
Giờ không có vô trong đó.
Có, mới vô ra. Hello, ra đi chơi chiều.
Oh.
Chiều nãy là ông đứng đây.
about
Mất tiền rồi.
yes. Oh, bye bye. Here, look at this. Chip, chip. Look. Airplane. Oh. Wonderful, Sonia. And there is also a link to donate in the description of the video if you're considering to support my work. All of these live streams and videos are possible through viewers like you. Bye bye. So what it means when we take up the role of being a meditator, what it means when we start to say, wait a minute, you know, I don't, that this life isn't about my thoughts about it. We're put into a new situation and a new experience where looking deeply is essential. So this life is meant to be a never-ending meditation practice, a never-ending way of looking deeply at what's going on. Why am I suffering so much? Why am I so isolated? Why am I so unable to interact with the world in the way that I wish to? And this channel is for suffering people. Meditation is for people who suffer. Can I have one? One chip? One chip? One chip? Om mani padme hum, 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 om mani padme hum. Azilafat? Can I have one chip? One chip? Oh.
Cháu nội. Cháu
Cháu
nội.
nội, cháu nội.
Ok. Cháu nội. Rồi. Ấy nó kêu à. Kêu sợ mới sợ. Mời mời.
Oh, thank you. Ah, Zirafat. Hello. Ma. Yo mani padme hum. 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 In a certain sense, we, especially, if we're not enlightened or we haven't done much or any work on the path of enlightenment, we can think of ourselves like a child, a baby that is unequipped to take care of the suffering of the body and mind. We need support, we need care, we need help. But in our case, I'm guessing, I don't know if there's any babies watching this live stream or young children, but In our case as adults, we have grown. And that means that our greed has grown, our anger has grown, our delusions have grown. Seemingly, seems that way. So, how can we begin to work with, to unpack, to fix the problem? We learn how to look at it. We learn how to look at our pain. We learn how to look at our depression. We learn how to look at our anxiety. We learn how to look, not just on a surface level, but to look very, very deeply. So really, I don't have anything to say, but Sonia, that's great. Really happy for you and glad that you're practicing generosity in that way. Give it to God, give it to Buddha, just give it away. And if you can't put it down, pick it up. This is a spontaneous occurrence, spontaneous unfolding. Nobody knows what this is. This cannot be described, it cannot be put into a box. Even that baby cannot be put into a box, because that baby is the whole universe. That baby is the whole world. That baby is life itself. And that baby is this representation of our natural mind, our baby mind, our original mind, that's not seeking, not stressed, not depressed, not anxious, not successful, not a failure. Just like that baby. So we are, I am coming back to my babiness. And all of these words are invocations to look deeply. To look deeply at what is already here. To make use of what is already here. To help myself and to help others. And actually we need a lot less than we think that we need. We think we need so much money, so many friends, so many TV shows, so many movies. We need a house, we need a car, we need a plan for our retirement. All of this. If you can exchange need for giving, you can begin to forgive your needingness. You can begin to work on the unraveling of your seeking. Seeking to become someone, seeking to understand something. And then you can begin to question, what is seeking? What is someone? What is I? What does that even mean? But it's not said and it's not explored for some kind of debate, some way of being right. It's a question used to go deeper within ourselves, to address the suffering that we are so burdened by.
Đâu chị?
Nó mấy hộp sữa đó.
Hôm này á? Ừ. Kệ, hộp bài đây là bịch rồi. Để em phải mua rồi mua không hộp thôi. Con nói đi. Sao?
Ôi ôi ôi. Ôi 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 ôi. You okay, baby?
Ôi, không có được. Bé nó thôi chú.
Oh, it's okay. Very good. We're looking for something. We're looking for that thing that's going to fix the suffering. And there's no thing that is going to fix suffering. There's no getting rid of something that's going to fix suffering. What you have now, what you have access to now, is exactly what is going to help you to stop seeking. Not by getting rid of that, but by facing that wholeheartedly. We are this baby. We continue to be this baby. This baby and you inter-are. You are both literally not this baby and literally this baby. In that what makes you is inseparable from what makes this baby this baby.
Nước kìa.
Hi AI. Hi Nina. Hi Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Ăn rồi mẹ ơi.
Trời ơi, giá làm trời gì vậy? Đây. Ông nghĩ cho nó ăn trong nằm nó bỏ một nó nằm nó mới lấy ra. Ê, vô. Mong.
Baby.
Năm để. Nghĩ cho nó 50 đồng ba 500. 5 đồng 5.000 nó bỏ vô đó.
Look here.
Hello.
Ooh. So right now we're at the monastery in Vietnam, and this is a place of meditation. This is a place built through generosity. This is a place where right now about 70 men, 70 women, people are coming together to practice meditation seriously, to sacrifice their lives. You really can't imagine how much development, how much benefit, how much health and wealth you can get by sacrificing your life for even just a moment, for a few moments, to stop indulging in constant, non-stop conceptual thought and to actually face what's happening. And to ask that question, what is happening? And to not fall back into conceptual thinking, to solve, to figure out, to understand what's happening. The problem with raising our voices is that we are very often not raising our voices from a place of depth, from a place of wisdom, from a place of compassion. That means that we are exceedingly disempowered. It's kind of like in arm wrestling. You know, you're at a table, right? And one arm is on the other side of the table and your arm is on your side of the table. So in that situation, when your arm is pulled all the way over to the other side of the table, you don't have any power. If we can offer our presence, if we can offer our fullness to this moment, to this experience, we have such a capacity to help others. We have such a capacity to actually listen to the suffering rather than dropping bombs of our anger, our confusion, our judgment. We constantly want to be right. We want our opinion to be the ultimate or the true. But your opinion is just your opinion. That thought is just that thought. That feeling is just that feeling. And we're constantly being confused and tricked and manipulated by our thoughts. So this is about learning to not manipulate yourself. This is learning how to stop turning around and being constantly dizzy in complicated thinking. I don't agree with what's going on in Gaza. I don't agree with what's going on in Israel. Hey, join the club. But can you embody peacefulness so that you can be a pillar of peace in the world that you're actually a part of? The world of the here and now. Not the world of your thoughts about things, not the world of your self-importance. Before your self becomes important, you actually have to know what the self is. And how are you going to know what this ultimate idea, your true identity, who you really are is, if you can't stop thinking? If you can't examine and know your tendencies internally, which are almost entirely based in seeking pleasure and avoiding pain for yourself. And then you see some social justice issue or something going on in the world, and you know, it's just another reason to make yourself feel important. This isn't about feeling important. This is about feeling into our direct experience. If you're planning to eat a lot of Burger King or Wendy's or McDonald's or other, you know, horrible, toxic, processed food, why don't you buy a little bit extra and give it to someone in need? See if you can do that. See if you can make an offering in that way. Doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be small, just making an offering. It's all inclusive. So Gaza is here and now or it's nowhere. Palestine is here and now or it's nowhere. And these expressions or these appearances of Gaza, Israel, Palestine, genocide in the Congo, etc., these are expressions of our greed, of our anger, of our delusions, individually and as a society, as a community. When we start to do the real work of addressing our own greed, our own anger, our own delusion, what does delusion mean? It means non-stop conceptual thought about things. When you think all the time, all you're thinking about is thoughts. You're not thinking about anything that's meaningful, practical, actionable in the here and now. And when we're constantly thinking like that, the only thing that we want to do is distract ourselves. Consume media, consume food. Try to build up our ego, go on some kind of self-improvement plan. So this, you know, I'm the leader here, I'm the teacher here of the self-dissolution plan, the self-dissolving plan. If we could go and march on Gaza, sure, I'd love to do that. But we have to know where our power is. And our power is on this side of the table, not that side of the table. That's taking true and real responsibility for how you affect your own internal systems of stress, anxiety, depression, confusion, suffering, and how you're then able to affect the people around you. Not by sharing your opinion, but how you are. Yeah, that kind of thing is very common, ice cream. When we take the chance to meditate seriously, we start to get a real experience of the body and a real experience of the mind that's not based in seeking or avoidance. This is how we become empowered, this is how we become free, this is how we become enlightened. Thank you very much, AR. You know, what are we going to do about the people in Gaza? What are we going to do about the children in Iran and Israel? Well, we're going to set the groundwork within ourselves so that these kinds of things never happen again. It's a big vision, and it takes a big heart, and it takes big dedication. It's not something to take lightly. We can have an impact on this world. We can make a difference. But it's going to start with making a difference within ourselves. There's no two ways about that. AI Avchi, all of these situations are coming from greed, anger, and delusion. They're coming from these human expressions of suffering. So when we know how to address our own internal suffering and the habit energies that perpetuate that suffering, we will have a lot to offer anywhere and everywhere that suffering is, 100%. Not in the idealized way. The idealized way of having a solution is dropping a bomb. And it's very easy for people to understand that. It's easy for people to see the right or the wrong in dropping a bomb in Gaza or in Israel or in Iran. But it's very difficult to understand that bombs don't have to exist, that we don't have to compete with each other, that we don't have to be aggressive, that we don't have to be greedy, that we don't have to be delusional. It's unnecessary. And you can intellectually appreciate that, hopefully enough to keep listening, to keep following, to keep getting concerned in what seems to help with that. And it's a whole other thing to embody that and to be that in the world that you are in right here and now, with the people that you are around right here and now, in the environment that you're in right here and now. That's right. That's why it's all the more important and all the more relevant to develop these skills and capacities and understanding about why people suffer, why people think that greed is justifiable, why people think that anger is justifiable, why people think that conceptual thoughts are ultimate reality, that what they think is inherently true. I think this, so, we're going to have to deal with this. No. You had thought that, period. A thought is just a thought, period. That's right. But people you wouldn't expect to be suffering immensely, in fact, are. Wealthy people, celebrities, people who seem very happy, people who seem to be very wealthy, people who have what you want may be suffering more than you can imagine. And suffering isn't really good or bad, suffering just is. So the work is not to get rid of suffering, but to start facing the suffering that actually is, to start looking at ourselves, to start meditating. And meditation is can be a confusing word or not an ideal word, but it means that we start to face what is here already. And the teachings here that are informed by Buddhism are explicitly concerned with that, facing what is already here, concerned with suffering, the cause of suffering, the ending of suffering, and the path to ending suffering. Like it or not, for better or worse, at a high level or a low level, that's what this is about. This has to be about that. That's great, ice cream. Good job.
Anh mua con Doraemon móc khóa. Hay là mai mua? Giờ gỡ được không? Dạ.
We have to begin to be willing to be with and experience deeply what is already here. Excuse me, I need to use the restroom.
Cãi.
Đúng rồi. Đó. Cái này có nhờ người ta lại bấm tài khoản nào. Sáng mai qua lấy đi.
Đưa tiền đây. Giờ thu tiền luôn hả? Thối tiền đi.
Rồi thôi được. Tí con gọi lại cho cô.
Đứng hồi mới chịu nói hả?
Đi đâu vậy?
Ở bển chạy qua.
Chị thấy đi qua mà.
Mới chạy qua nè. Tại có người đặt mua con Doraemon đó thì mình đi qua mua giùm. Giờ mình cũng kim buôn bán giống như thầy trên mạng.
Con khá rồi.
Đi nói.
Đổ ngon, cái đồng mưa rồi. Hả? Mưa ở bên trời. Mặt chính con trắng hết trời.
Sưng nó tụ ra.
Sao mày cứ không thiên nhiên vậy đó? Hả?
Mẹ lớn tuổi da mẹ dày lắm, sao như con trẻ đâu mà.
Ớt cay với con.
Thả đúng không? Thả đúng không?
Dơ.
Đúng không con?
Quên mất mày có ăn được vỏ ốc đó không?
Không, bỏ đây con. Nó ăn. Ăn. Này nó thấy xong không ha?
Mai tầm 2 giờ nữa.
Đạo lắm. Thôi nha, không có cắn lộn nha.
Thanks, Luca. Go within. Ui cha.
Mình gọi nhiều mà đâu ăn được đâu.
Vậy đổ ở đây nhanh đi.
Khổ kìa.
You should let go and make yourself empty and quiet, clear and calm, to the point where former intellectual interpretations, rationalizations, misknowledge, and misperception cannot get into your mind or act on it at all. A certain state in which no time whatsoever is wasted 24 hours a day. Maintained until you reach the point where there is nowhere to grasp and nowhere to anchor.
Ngọt quá hả?
Mù
cái lâu lúc răng đã làm á thì nó ngon. Mà nay được có hơn năm rồi thành ra nó
Explicitly, directly, drop thinking.
Giúp
Vậy là mẫu đúng không?
All thoughts that you have are irrelevant,
Nhổ luôn mà nó
do not apply, are not true.
Răng sướng mà.
So the Buddha said, it said in the suttas that it's much better for you to see your body as yourself rather than your mind as yourself, the mind as yourself. So what that means is to look now at the direct experience of your body, of the body, the thoughtless body, and what are you going to do with that? So continuously face that body. And if you're going to speak, speak from that body, speak from this direct experience, rather these ideas that we have about things. The ideas that we have about things are all wrong, all confused, and all irrelevant in the practice of no seeking.
Ba không thích vậy đâu nha.
And with that right understanding, we can then practice applied thought or applied attention or applied listening or applied being with the moment-by-moment experiences of the breathing, of the body. We can go and listen to the Dhamma talk. We can just hang out. But we can hang out in a way where we are not spinning and spinning around with the momentum of conceptual thinking. And you can see and notice conceptual thinking as false thinking, as irrelevant. And if you have to think something, you can think the word everything, or you can think the word irrelevant. Because of the nature of how we're meeting here today, it's not exactly a matter of being at this monastery, being at this temple, of entering a meditation retreat together. So this is the opening and the invitation and the space given to be concerned with. We can say what I'm concerned with, which is the ending of suffering, which is the work of the Buddha. So we're not approaching this with the idea of achieving greatness or with eagerness for success or with desire for recognition. Okay, this is all the work of vanity. This aspiration for enlightenment is rather openness. It's a consistency, and it's a the familiarity, becoming more familiar with the accessibility of openness that's not based in conceptual thinking. And then we start to see that there's a value in that. Not because someone tells us that there is, or because someone tells us we're going to get enlightened or we're going to get something from it, but because we come and see that for ourselves. That there's a value in dropping conceptual thought. There's a value in stopping the turning of the wheel of seeking. And then from there, in terms of how we approach that and apply that, there's some teachers who are like kind of teaching non-duality or teaching a certain view of emptiness, and they say, what you do with it is up to you. But for me, I'm concerned with Buddhism. I'm concerned with meditation, concerned with Zen, concerned with Dzogchen, concerned with Mahamudra, concerned with mindfulness and detachment. So, I'm here to support as long as I can, as seriously as you want to take it, for going to a meditation retreat or connecting with teachers, etc. But as much as we can really be concentrated and present with the openness of not seeking, it's just Tibetan tradition of Zen. It's a form of Tibetan Buddhism that's kind of like Zen. We're really getting into a culture where we're less and less likely to be convinced of anything other than that which we're already convinced of. But in that, very image focused, and to be unconvinced about the imagelessness of our immediate experience, our present experience, only you can decide how far you want to take that, how seriously you want to step towards that. And usually it's people that have a deep suffering, a deep longing for a meaningful life, for transformation of their trauma, etc., that are pushed or pulled enough, to go and visit a Buddhist monastery or a temple, or start to listen to Dharma talks, to attend meditation retreats, etc. Zen is, in a conceptual approach, it's very, very different. But in a practical or applied approach, it's not different. And so the teaching is that there's no such thing as conceptual Buddhism. There's no such thing as academic, intellectual, armchair Buddhism. You have to be, if you want to practice and you want to develop and you want to get involved, that's exactly what you have to do. You have to start listening to a teacher seriously. You have to start practicing generosity or self-sacrifice, the same thing, with that teacher seriously. Meaning that you ask them, hey, what do I do? Or you do what they're already telling you to do, listening to their guided meditations or what have you. And then you see how you can get more and more involved with that. Armchair Buddhism is also, it's not only a Western thing. A lot of monks even approach Buddhism from this intellectual, academic, semi-practice approach, and they will never be successful. You can spend 100 years on Reddit asking people questions about how to get to jhana and listening to their experiences, and even just going to 10-day Vipassana retreats and not really get the success that is emphasized in Zen. You may get the success of entering jhanas, etc., but for the Buddha that wasn't enough. Right? So the Zen tradition, or the non-duality traditions within Buddhism, are kind of Buddha-based, whereas many other traditions are more focused on making you feel better, which is also great. If anything can really make you feel better in a deep way, then that's fantastic. But at the beginning, we're coming from this place of complete ignorance and habit energy and consumption and ego identification. Our eyes are just completely closed, and we're not able to see our own condition. We're not able to see our own ignorance. And so the way that you actually start to see your own ignorance is by seeing through it.
Ủa, có ly mì chai á hả? Chị làm cái tô em chưa? Lấy cái ly mì chai cho em đi. Rồi con ăn hết hai tô. Ăn hết mà. Rồi thêm một cái ly mì chai. Thêm tôm phần mì chai nữa chị ơi. Đó mì chai lẩu Thái gì kìa thấy. Thêm mì chai nữa là 3 phần á.
Fundamentally, this is a place to practice generosity together. This is a place to practice mindfulness or natural virtueness together. This is a place to practice meditation seriously together. And this is a place to be concerned with the Dhamma, or concerned with insight, concerned with wisdom together. So we can share our experiences, we can ask questions, etc. But it's really a practice space. The way for the woman is the same for the way of the man, generally. You're practicing generosity, that's great. Now you need to elevate that generosity into self-sacrifice. So start listening to Dhamma talks from Ajahn Brahm. Start listening to guided meditations from Thich Nhat Hanh. Start making some vows to follow the 5 precepts. Don't drink alcohol. Be much more careful with your sexual activity and sexual thoughts. Be much more careful with how you talk, what you talk about. Don't ever speak harshly. Don't kill bugs, etc. And we just begin to orient our life to this way of mindfulness and detachment. I mean, that's what I'm doing. That's what I recommend people do. There's a lot of ways that you can approach it, but the Buddhism gives us a framework. I don't want to bundle up Abhidhamma and Tiente and Huayan. I'm more talking about Reddit Buddhism. sharing our opinions, sharing our understandings, trying to help. Sometimes it can be good, but Buddhism is a warrior's game, Lucas. Meditation is a warrior's game and a warrioress's game. So you have to be ready to show up and fight. If somebody is out here wearing, Asian clothes at a monastery in Vietnam, being an assistant for meditation masters from Myanmar, for 70 plus yogis for a 10-day retreat, and you come across that and you're serious about this path, you have to be ready to look into that deeply and to listen to that deeply. It's the armchair Buddhism. It means that you're comfortable with your own understanding. You're comfortable with your own position. And if that's done in a passive way, it's just completely self-referential. And there's no real clear indicator that you've got what it takes to help others or to actually help yourself in a deeper way. You've got to go out there and self-sacrifice. You have to be practicing generosity seriously. You have to be practicing being concerned with a teacher, a community, with meditation retreats seriously. That's where the money is, period. And you can do that online. You can do that in person. You can give up your whole life to do that, or you can do that through, keeping all your things in order. The confusion is that we're so stuck in the self-based view. We're stuck in wrong view. So when we hear these things, it always comes down to you and me. But it has nothing to do with you and it has nothing to do with me. It just like gardening doesn't have to do with your ego. Gardening is an expression of skillful working with cause and effect, right? And that's what I'm here to help people do, period. And the Aikido aspect of it, or like the Kung Fu or the warrioress aspect of it, is that, for me, if I came across something like this, I'm going to be curious. And then if you hold a strong view about it, if you hold a strong position about it, let's talk about it. So people, armchair Buddhism or Buddhists or armchair spiritual practitioners, they don't practice generosity seriously. They're not going to the temple and volunteering. They're not making serious donations to their teacher or to the community. They're not regularly going to meditation retreats, etc. And that means that when the opportunity is there to give, not just what's nice, but to actually give our experience and to listen to someone else give their experience, we say, no way, Jose. We say, no, this is according to my conceptual thought about it. And my ill will or my negativity or whatever I think is justified by the thoughts that I already have. I've got your ideology right here, big guy. You want some ideology? Huh? I've got your ID and your ology right here. You better watch out. Also, if you're interested in Aikido and Zen and Buddhism, there's a teacher, a Maido Moore, that MEIDO space MOORE. Someone was asking about Aikido and Buddhism. Everything, Reed. Your suffering is entirely dependent upon conceptual proliferation. Conceptual proliferation is what is perpetuating constant seeking and keeping you from looking deeply at anything, to investigate it or to appreciate it. Without conceptual proliferation, everything is profound. Everything is a meditation object. Everything is a 5D ayahuasca trip in Peru or on the moon or whatever. Sean's play, the best advice that I can give you is to shut up and listen as long as you can. And if you can do that, then we can actually start talking about practical advice. But if you can't do that, there's a story. I'll tell a story. I wish I was a better storyteller. You know, I'm always just sitting here and you're rambling. But there was a great Zen master in ancient Japan, samurais and Zen and monks. And one day this university professor, very well-known famous university professor, came to question the Zen master. So he comes in, they sit down for tea, and they're getting all settled in. You know, Zen in Japanese culture is very like traditional and stoic in some ways, so they're real settled down. And the Zen master is preparing the tea, and so he pours this cup, and then the university professor, he was asking all these questions. He was just asking question after question after question after question, right? And eventually he's in the middle of these questions, he's holding out his teapot, you know, to get filled up, his teacup, and the Zen master pours and pours right up to the brim and keeps pouring. And the university professor says, "Whoa, hey, what's going on? You know, what are you doing?" And the Zen master says, "Look, a teacup that is already full cannot receive anything else. You need to empty your teacup to receive more tea." And that's also where we get into generosity. No ideology is allowed here. This is a completely non-dual space. No ideology is allowed. No conceptual proliferation is allowed. But if it happens, that's when we apply mindfulness and detachment. So we are aware of what's happening, we're not attached to it. That's non-duality. But it's not that, because that's also just something to be aware of and not attached to, etc. There is this kind of thing called empty wisdom, or wisdom, and I also like to call it, I shit in my pants because I'm enlightened. This little brown dog is a little bit, why are you so rough with him? So bravery. It's okay, Chippy. So choop choop. So they say, look, everything is empty, and then they shit in their pants, and you say, what's going on? They say, oh, I'm enlightened, this is normal. So you can do that if you want, but I don't recommend it. And it has nothing to do with enlightenment or real insight or wisdom. People are the thing is that Westerners especially are so removed from intimate, real social situations that aren't about either prison education or basically slave labor, monetary-based, slave labor, that there's no such thing as a context based on consent that's not about making money. So certain non-duality teachers or certain meditation teachers teach in a certain way to students. And according to that context, they say certain things. But if you take this idea of emptiness or this idea of non-duality and you say, oh, I already got it, I'm enlightened and I figured this out, and you're some bozo, in a monastery in Vietnam, you just don't get it like I do. Firstly, that's extremely dualistic, so the point doesn't make any sense. But what that leads to is somebody who's stoned out of their minds, in their room, with pee bottles everywhere, they've pooped on the floor, and you come in and you say, what the heck's going on here? And they say, oh no, this is non-duality. Well, all right, that's non-duality, but you still shit your pants. Go and clean yourself up. Sean's play. Self-control, peace of mind, and freedom from addiction while being content with life. The number one thing that you can start to do, Sean's play, is you can start to emphasize doing actions of generosity. So I don't know your situation, I don't know where you are, I don't know who you live with, all that kind of stuff, but start to do things for the sake of doing them, to offer, to give, to share, to help. That's not about the outcome according to your self-narrative of self-improvement. So clean your room as an act of generosity. clean the toilet, the public toilet, or clean your parents' toilet as an act of generosity. Find a way to volunteer somewhere as an act of generosity. Okay? Start to focus not on getting what you want and being who you want to be, but start to focus on offering what you already have to benefit others. Start to focus on giving up, giving away what you're holding on to that's precious to you, that's valuable to you. And another way that can kind of support that and help with that is starting to find a system not of self-improvement and creating a multi-level marketing scheme, but creating a multi-level virtue scheme. What that means is that you start to actually prioritize being a good person. You start to prioritize, to emphasize remembering, like not doing the things that are not good for you and doing more of the things that are good for you. Such as, not killing, and also others. So not killing, not stealing, not speaking harshly, not taking drugs, not getting drunk, and being very careful with your sexual energy and activity. But these aren't rules for you to progress on your self-development system. These are encouragements, these are invitations for you to be more aware of your mental, physical, and verbal conduct moment by moment. And like I said, Sean's Play, if you can, stick around and listen, and I'll be here and I'll keep being here. It's that openness, and it's that willingness to give, and it's that willingness to listen. Otherwise, nobody can help you. And that is innate in you, but it's been so covered up and tangled up by the greed, the anger, the delusion, and the traumas that we experience growing up in a broken culture. Everything is spontaneous already. Everything is empty of separation already. But in terms of it not being that way, everything is cause and conditions, rather than a real true situation based on a real true coming together of certain thoughts and phrases and words and sounds, descriptions. Everybody struggles with concentration. So you have to stop trying to concentrate, and you have to start giving up your personal self-control of your time that's based in trying to develop on the spiritual path. So the next time you're thinking about going for a big, you want to concentrate a lot, just go for a walk and stop thinking about things. Give up and give away that seeking to succeed and that seeking to make progress. That's the biggest barrier for developing your concentration. If you're curious or if you feel a connection to something, then you're natural and easy to concentrate with that. And it can be positive and negative, but at the beginning it kind of needs to be more positive leaning, which something I can definitely get better at. But the negative thing is also as well. That's why I was talking about for armchair Buddhists that have a strong opinion or a strong view about their position or their understanding, but when that position or understanding is brought into a place of sensitivity, now they're running towards the other hill. They're avoiding that opportunity to confront what is really alive in them. And that's always a good opportunity. And that's a never-ending opportunity to confront what is alive in us. Am I from Zero Block? Sure. The big O, the big zero. That's me.
Em ngoài đây đợi nó đi đưa chị về.
Tao đưa chị lấy ra.
Tí nó ra đây nó ăn.
Nó ăn mình nó đi chứ em về em ngủ 4 giờ dậy là không chịu nổi.
Nhiêu nữa.
So we've kind of, because we've just been so oversaturated with movies and TV and consumption, we lose the fact that this is a real, supposedly, this is a real person, this is a real human being. And how exceedingly interesting and unknown that is, to be face to face with apparently someone who's willing to talk with you, who's willing to listen to you, who apparently knows about, we don't know. So there is an aliveness here, there is a kind of DMT fractal reality here that we can start to connect with. We have to start to understand that what's happening is already.
Nó đi được chưa em?
What's happening is beyond our conceptual thinking. What's happening is impermanent. What's happening is empty of continuing to happen already, regardless of if we do anything about it. You have to give more, you have to listen more. We have to learn how to detach from our own understanding. You have to learn how to detach, how to abandon, how to renounce your own understanding.
Không có thế, hay lắm. Ê, 1 trong 2 đứa. Không con rồi.
Mo hai but.
Em 1 trong 2 đứa. Bắn mệt mỏi rồi.
Sao?
Ai biểu đẻ, sung lắm à. Họ đi sung lắm. 15 tuổi. Mới có 17, 18 tuổi đi đội đi đẻ.
Nè, vô.
Có tiền thổi không?
Cái bình đó đâu? Bình đây.
Bao nhiêu con?
500 lận. Không thì cô đưa 90 cũng được, thiếu 5.000 cũng được.
Chip.
Em có 15.000 đó không?
Không, có 5.000 không cần thiết.
Cô đây,
500 rồi, cô ấy 5.000 đây. Hello với ông nè. Nhiều người xem vậy. 20 mấy nghìn người xem luôn hả?
đâu.
Đúng không? Coi đâu? Đây nè, người
13 người à. Cái ngoài cùng á, cái số 14 á. Rất là tiền.
đâu?
Cái nè, 14 người xem.
À,
Cái kia là 71 đô.
chọn đi anh.
Ừ.
Chọn đi về.
Hi, the way, welcome. Welcome to the way, the way.
Chưa rồi. Chọn nó chưa đi.
Ôi.
Nè, không có phá con chú. Nào.
You have to stop asking why, and you have to start practicing. The why is just shut up. Shut up. We can't just go asking why. We have to start listening to our heart beating, to our breath breathing. We're looking for something to understand. We're looking for some kind of conceptual framework or narrative, some kind of explanation. And the teaching here is that there is no explanation. And that looking for an explanation is just avoidance. You're going to get from it, Anna, as much, you're going to get from it as much as you give to it. No two ways about it. It's got to be self-sacrifice. It's got to be facing that suffering, facing that difficulty, facing that intensity. Sacrificing your
ngồi ở ghế kìa, nó còn nói chuyện với ổng để chụp hình, nó đưa nó vậy.
Không này là sự nó thuốc bé con nít luôn.
Ôi bên Mỹ người ta quý con nít lắm con chó người ta quý.
Con nít với lại chó thích lắm.
Đừng bể của ông nha.
Hết cho.
Về chỗ đẩy trường. Hello đi. Hello đi con.
Hello.
Don't confuse the finger pointing at the moon for the moon. Don't confuse the idea of the baby for the baby. Don't confuse the idea of yourself for yourself. Don't confuse the idea of your experience for your experience. This leads to never-ending proliferation of conceptual thought that never leads anywhere. Get out there and give.
Hello đi con. Hello.
Breathe. Strong breathing, Anna. Breakthrough. Breakthrough, Anna. Do it with me, Anna. You can also do maybe a more refined version of this, which is as you're breathing in. As you're breathing in, naturally, ordinarily.
Hello.
You can say internally with your thoughts, I am not this body. As you breathe in with the breath, saying it, the thought with the breath, I am not this body. Breathing out, I am not even this mind. And these kind of wonderful, profound moments and teachings, which is mainly the purity and the power of the Buddha, of the baby Buddha. You know, this is an hour and a half into this long, boring, meandering live stream. So, you know, you either have the karmic affinity to be here now, to have just joined a few moments ago or a few minutes ago, right, and not wasted all that time, or you have the sincerity, the interest, the willingness to shut up and listen. And that is how we get into the jhanas, that's how we get into the deeper states of meditation, that's how all of this works. We have to be willing to show up and listen. Choo-choo.
Anh nên nghịch nó cái đó.
Mưa,
Đi, nè.
mưa anh ơi. Mưa, mưa, mưa.
Đi về, đi về, đi về. Ăn gì để ăn đi con. Ăn gì luôn em lấy mấy chân hộp lớn đủ đi. Kìa, lấy đi. Với có uống qua một cốc không?
Một cốc anh uống không?
Uống cà phê lấy nữa thôi, hộp kìa, còn hộp đó. Cốc hộp cà phê bữa uống rồi. Dạ uống không? Lấy đi, còn hộp lấy khi mới bán. Lấy đi, khi ngồi tủ lấy đi. Để mà lấy. Hổ tiếng nè, ăn lấy nè, không nè.
Yes, yes.
Làm được không đi?
See, there's no excuse. Even the baby can do the meditation method. You know. This is a real meditation method. This is
Thôi, không phá nữa.
Hlegu, Hegu, or
Bye bye.
Wegu.
Bye
Bye bye, Chip Chip. Bye bye, baby. See you next time. Here, donation for you. Okay, I keep this.
À ông chưa? À.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye đi. Rồi, mê phá thôi.
Very good. The naturalness. Everything curious, everything interesting, everything is meditation.
Bye 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 bye. À bye bye ông. Bye bye.
Okay, bye. Bye, baby.
Hôn má, hôn má, hôn má.
Oh, oh, kiss.
Hôn má, hôn má.
Okay, okay. Choo choo. You know, and there's a lot of things like, children's rights and different ways that we work with and take care of children that aren't very important when we have a natural relationship with naturalness, with openness, when children have a kind of continuous spaciousness in which to explore their surroundings and aren't, don't have an iPad shoved into their face because their parents are constantly working and also addicted to technology, etc. That's why I don't, I'm not a big fan of living in America or living in the Western society, because that sense of naturalness and community and, of course, being concerned with Buddhism is just not really there, and makes for a very, seemingly unwholesome and not comfortable environment. For me as a practitioner. But one day, sure, I'd like to start the meditation center, but I don't have a bunch of money. I don't have the resources to buy land or property, so it's, what we can do here, even what we can do in this live stream, it is about what people give. Because I'll just sit here and meditate, because I'm walking on my path, and so as much as we dare to give, that's how much we can get back. What is it to give? What is it to offer? What is it to serve? What is it to volunteer? What is it to make a donation? What is it to give up our self-importance for something that's more important than ourselves? I guess in a sense it's a practical expression of there being something that is more important than ourselves. And at the beginning that can be something or someone, but eventually there's a sense that everything is already more important than the notion that I have about myself. And then the self, which is like this indescribable everythingness that has come together as a body and mind, and the present circumstance starts to help. Instead of getting dizzy, we get grounded. Instead of getting trapped, we get free. Instead of getting lost, we get found. As we're on our path, as we're living our lives, as we're going through all these different things. Okay, we have any final questions? And any final questions, comments, offerings, sharings? If you want to get in contact with me, if you want to make a donation, all these videos all these live streams are possible because people donate and offer. You can find in the description of this video a link to get in contact with me and a link to donate. And it's also possible to set up regular, monthly donation, monthly offering, which is very, very helpful. As you can imagine, it would be. Okay, finish here. May the merits and blessings of this practice and this path, however little or great our practice and our experience is, may it be shared out with all beings. May everyone here be happy, healthy, wealthy. May you feel kindness, may you feel acceptance, and may you feel forgiveness in each and every moment, in each and every breath, in each and every experience. May it be, may it be, may it truly, truly be.